Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be drawing a sugar skull using some inks and watercolor pencils. If you'll notice, you can see very faint lines of pencil on the page, and that's because I did lightly sketch out all the elements before starting my recording. I did this for a few reasons. Um, it's a little bit difficult for me to draw flat without getting any distortion, and I need to kind of move the page around a lot, and I don't want anyone to have to see the top of my head on camera. So just doing a light sketch in pencil before getting to this part helps me get everything together. So I'm just sort of tracing over those very faint lines with a little Pigma micron pen there. I really like the 0.5 for the thickness. And then I started using some of these awesome Prismacolor watercolor pencils. I've never used them before. I've had them for some months, and I kept longingly looking at the box, just waiting for the moment to arrive when I can actually get to this. And this was the project that inspired the use. I found them amazingly creamy and buttery, and they really spread well. So for anybody who's ever struggled with watercolor pencils kind of being inconsistent and sometimes just too heavy or leaving a line that you don't want, I found these to just blend like a dream. So they're really nice, and I found a little bit will go a long way, and I'm sure they're going to last me quite a while. I will be honest with you, I've always shied away from any kind of skull or skull and bones type artwork, and I was inspired to do this largely because of a call for artwork. And I'm not going to say I haven't enjoyed Day of the Dead artwork before. I certainly have, but I just guess I never really felt comfortable doing it myself, and I decided to kind of face that discomfort and jump right in on this one. There's something about looking at the underlying structure foundation of ourselves and having to confront the mortality that we all face and the physical aspect of our lives and how that passes, and also thinking about where we come from and who we come from and the mysterious origins of that. Because yes, I've seen some DNA test results and some ancestry reports, but it's still a mystery. We still don't really know, most of us anyway, how we came to be, or be able to trace ourselves really exactly that far back. And so there's so much that is mysterious about our origins and our backgrounds, and thinking about mortality and death and the cycle of life. We have to confront those ideas about where we come from, the fact that we are impermanent, and no matter how big our ego is, we just will never last in this particular plane. And so that was something that I definitely thought about while doing this. But there's something that's really wonderful and alluring about their sugar skulls, and I would say that has to do with the bright qualities of it, despite the fact that you're dealing with this potentially grim subject matter. And I say grim because I think in Western culture especially, death is really one of those subjects that we feel uncomfortable with. We don't really like to talk about it very much, and I think a lot of us don't know how to confront or deal with it. I'm talking about myself as well, of course. So even when I think about it, it's often in more abstract terms, and having to sit down and draw something, as most artists will tell you, there's something that's very confrontational about that. So the cool thing about the sugar skull is, yeah, the colors, the celebration of it. It's not just about death, but death is also a celebration of life and what gives life a particular meaning. Knowing that it can't last forever, there's a compulsion to make our lives matter, mean something. And so those joyful colors are part of our journey and our process, and discovering the meaning of who we are and hopefully living to our fullest potential. And that's something that I think makes us, as a species, aware of our death, kind of afraid to think about it, because I think we're often afraid of what we haven't accomplished or the potential that we haven't reached. and allowing that to block us, those fears to block us from getting to that state of fulfillment. So those were some of the things that were just kind of going through my head as I worked on this piece. Also just absolutely loving the process and figuring out the color scheme, and sort of, I guess, the contrast between those two ideas of something that could be macabre becoming bright and in a sense cheerful, because we are, in a sense, in a Day of the Dead, you are talking about celebrating your ancestors as well, and where you come from and that whole flow. So I think it was just a really nice journey to go through all of those thoughts while I worked on this project. I have a current and probably long-term obsession with circles, circular forms, mandalas, the idea of repetition and completion, and also the idea of things emerging from circular forms. I'm not really sure when that began, but I find that I do repeatedly go back to circles in my artwork, especially lately, and I am quite drawn to circular forms, as I think a lot of us are. There's something very satisfying about that particular shape that we're drawn to. So this just came about naturally. I didn't really think too much when I started to draw the forms. I just wanted to have that idea of a life cycle in there, and I did throw in some elemental motifs like flowers and water and some little spheres to exemplify maybe planetary bodies circulating around an unfixed point. And I really was satisfied with the way that came together around the skull and unified everything. I think that the traditional motifs I've seen in sugar skulls, I often see flowers, and flowers are one of those things I think really very interesting, in that we love them, we smell them, we appreciate their beauty, we take the time and see their colors and forms, but they are very transient and exemplify the nature of existence in a sense. They grow, they blossom, they bloom, they fall to the ground, and we try to hang on to them for as long as possible, but eventually they fade away to be replaced by new blooms and new blossoms, and there's something that we can hold on, and I guess again that's what makes them so beautiful. Although I'll say I've never really been a huge fan of cut flowers. I like potted plants. I like knowing that when that bloom dies, or bloom falls I should say, another will eventually take its place and have its own unique beauty. So for anyone who would ever think of getting me some flowers in a bouquet, I would advise you get me a potted plant instead, or something I can put in the ground. That would make me happier, to have the anticipation of seeing some new life emerge from this plant. So at this particular stage, I'm just kind of wrapping up some ideas. I had to throw a scythe in there just because I thought it would look cool. If you like my video, please subscribe, and you'll see shortly a link to my Instagram. Check it out if you have the time. Thanks for watching.